Hi, my name is Drew, N1ER or N1er for you ham types. You know, I'm a lot like you. I have things in life that I love doing, and I've discovered that if you find a way to make those things intersect, life is even more awesome. You may think that hogs and ham radio can't go together. Well, I'm here to change your mind. There are other things that I enjoy doing as well. For instance, I love watching my kids play sports, play in band, and live life. I love working in ministries and with underprivileged groups. And you know what? I love Georgia Tech, the Atlanta Braves, and yes, the X-Files. I'm here to answer all sorts of questions and show you how your passions can intersect. We'll talk hogs and hams, but also drink some bourbon and play some D&D, so join me on this episode of Hogs and Hams. Hi, Drew. N1er here with you again. I am super excited that you've joined me for another episode of Hogs and Hams, and today we're actually going to be talking about the South Pole. So if you watched the previous episode with Brandon over at AARG, his VE team on June 25th was able to give 25 total exams, totally remote, to the South Pole via satellite. And basically the way that that worked was we had a satellite window of 3 hours, and we were able to use Zoom and the Ham Exam Gen platform, and then we were able to administer those exams to the 12 scientists that are currently stationed at the South Pole Station there in the South Pole. So it was an amazing time. I'm so glad that I got to be a part of it, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today, what that looked like, some of the challenges that needed to be overcome, but more than anything, I'm just super happy that amateur radio history was made with those 100% remote exams to the South Pole. So, without further ado, let's talk to Brandon and let's talk through what that looked like. Hi, I'm joined by Brandon again, Brandon with AARG. Thanks for being with us today, Brandon.
Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. And in our last episode, we teased a little bit about Antarctica, and I'm glad you were able to join us again today. And we want to get into Antarctica a little bit. And with that being said, let's just jump right into it. And first question, how did the opportunity to do test in Antarctica, how did that even come about?
Yeah, so how it originally started was we had a YL, which is a ham radio lingo for a young lady, a female amateur radio operator who tested with us in April of 2021 when she was home in New Hampshire, which is where she's from in the U.S., and that's where she lives when she's back in the U.S. She tested for tech with us in April 2021 and December of last year, right about a couple weeks before Christmas. She had sent us an email asking if we could do testing in Antarctica, and she told us she was at the research station at McMurdo. So the McMurdo station in Antarctica. She asked if we could give her an exam down there. Of course, my immediate reply was, "Of course we can. That's a nothing burger to me. That's no big deal." So it took. So that email first came in around the second week of December, and it took 5 months of emails back and forth to finally make it happen. But on the 13th of May of this year, she tested with us from McMurdo Station in Antarctica. She passed her general exam with flying colors, and that was the beginning of what turned into be kind of a snowball effect for us, which was good, and I'm thoroughly enjoying every bit of it. Once she passed her general exam, one of the guys at the South Pole Station, he's the lead IT director for the South Pole Station, which is also known as the Amundsen-Scott Station at the South Pole in Antarctica. He had sent our general class examinee an email asking her how it all went. And she gave us an absolutely glowing review and feedback to this guy at the South Pole. And so that turned into not even 48 hours after she got her general class license in the database, me being queried by the South Pole Station asking if they too could do an amateur radio license exam through us. And so they ended up using most of our course curriculum. The guy taught a class down there for tech, and then most everybody studied for tech and general. And most everybody that tested with us ended up doing and passing both tech and general in one sitting. So that's kind of the process, or kind of how it all began. And everybody that's been on for our 2 Antarctica sessions so far this year, they've been absolutely thrilled to do it.
Wow. I love that story. So my understanding is there was some history made, with these exams. You want to tell us a little bit about the history and what was so special about this session?
Well, yeah. So for both sessions, first off, it was not only the first time we as an organization had the opportunity to administer exams on that continent, but it was also the first time that we were able to deploy our in-house exam platform, Ham ExamGen, to that continent. So McMurdo Station got their first fully remote and paperless examination administered by us on the 13th of May of this year. No other VE team or VE program in history has the dubious honor of saying that. We are the first ones to do it, and I'm very tickled pink to see that happen. I know it'll leave a long-standing impression well after our previous examinee is gone. And then at the South Pole, they've done remote testing at the South Pole before, but prior to that, it was all pencil and paper. And this was the first time that an exam session was administered, or an exam session was held at the South Pole Station without the need of a certified proctor or a VE on site. It was the first paperless exam session ever in recorded history for that particular station, and it was probably one of the most highly sought after exam sessions from a VE perspective. So lots of little historical things in the mix to making all this happen. But we've made history on multiple fronts in the last 60 days down there, and I couldn't be more thrilled to be at the front seat of it all.
Nice. And so you touched on this a little bit, but walk me through some of those IT hurdles that had to be overcome in order to do this totally remote, like you said, without pen and paper. What does that look like?
So the biggest thing down there, and a lot of people don't realize this, is that Antarctica, most of Antarctica does not have continuous internet connectivity. So, for example, McMurdo Station, they now, just in the last 10 years, finally got geostationary satellite internet. So they've got a large dish down there, and it's the same. It's equivalent to what we use in Alaska for satellite internet. We're talking 2.4 meters, which is about 8 feet across in diameter, to pull on a satellite internet signal that's hovering right over the equator. That's where they're getting their internet from. So they had semi-reliable high-speed internet. And when I say high speed in Antarctica, we're talking 7 to 9 megs down, and upload speeds of less than 500 kilobits per second. So that's considered high speed down there. And in the grand scheme of things, it's remarkable that even internet works that well. So McMurdo Station wasn't nearly as difficult for us as far as from an IT perspective goes. They already had the facilities in place. It was more or less, for that applicant, her getting the time to take off long enough to not be in the middle of doing the work that she was doing down there to take the test. Conversely, the South Pole Station, what made that a little bit more difficult, and that's a very kind way to put it, we not only had the we not only had the internet issues to deal with, but we had the time zone to deal with. So to speak on the internet connectivity issues, they use low Earth orbiting satellites to get on the internet. So they have a series of low Earth orbiting satellites that make a pass or two a day, depending on what day of the week it happens to be. but they're very limited. Some passes can be as little as a couple of hours. Some passes can be as much as 6 or 7 hours in duration. It just depends on where the satellite's coming from. They operate almost identical to amateur radio satellites as far as a pass schedule, pass times, and all that sort of thing. So we had to work all that out. That took the longest to overcome, given the time that they were doing the class and the approximate days out of the week that they were able to take the test. Finding a satellite pass that worked for them and also worked for us was a huge logistical hurdle that we were able to overcome. And then, like I said, the time zone issue was a little bit hazy at first, but we managed to come up with something that worked for everybody. So we held the exam session on the Saturday of field day in North America, which we started the exam. So we got everybody on Zoom. All the VEs were on Zoom promptly at 9 a.m. Alaska time. And then at 9:45 a.m. Alaska time, we began the exam session. So what that equates to at the South Pole is that would have been that was 5:45 in the morning, Sunday morning, that our first round of examinees were having to get themselves out of bed, get up, possibly caffeinate, depending on whether or not they're addicted to coffee or required it. If they didn't, there's something wrong with them. But anyways, they had to get up at wee hours of the morning on a Sunday to do this test. But we had, by the time the exam session started, we had a 3-hour and 10-minute window to work with. At the beginning, when the session first started, we were bringing in the each exam room for the very first time. We were having some technical issues that were getting sorted out between me and the lead IT director down there, which delayed things about 25 to 30 minutes, but we finally got everything in, got our first round of examinees in, and after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. But I'll tell you, between the internet and the time zone and making sure that I still had enough VEs to do this, it turned into quite the logistical miracle, to be honest with you. But it was overly successful, and that part is something that I would not trade for anything.
And so there was a limited window, correct, with the satellite pass that the test had to be completed in, correct?
Yes. So when the session started, when I brought in the first round of examinees and got them into their rooms, we were down to 2 hours and 55 minutes that we had to administer exams to 12 applicants. And each one of those applicants, with the exception of two, were taking more than one exam. So we were semi-crunched for time. So we had to do a lot of amendments to our exam setup procedures to ensure that everybody still had the opportunity to test with us, but us making sure that our due diligence was maintained by ensuring that the environment for each room allowed us to administer their exams with the highest level of honesty and integrity, which is something we shoot for regardless of where they're at.
Absolutely. And then one other thing that I just kind of wanted to point out to everybody that's watching this video is you said 7 to 9 megs down is all that they had, and the Ham Exam Gen platform performed flawlessly,
It
just with
did.
that limited amount of bandwidth. So I think that's a kudos to the program and what you've set up as far as being able to operate in extraneous circumstances.
It certainly did. I was, believe it or not, I was waiting very patiently for something to fail during that exam session, and being the co-developer of the platform, I was very taken back, but in a good way, as to how well the platform performed, given the limited internet connectivity and having 5 rooms connected, all tagging, a 7 to 9 megabit down internet connection, and everybody staying online and everything working as well as it did. I was very, very impressed with how all the Zoom connections maintained stability and how well our platform played, given the limited resources they had down there. So again, kudos to my lead developer, Dan Pergert, Alpha Delta 8 Golf Charlie, for helping make all this happen. Very, very pleased with the way it all turned out. And so it's proof of concept that our platform can be deployed anywhere.
So it sounds like you've got a couple of sessions under your belt there in Antarctica. Like any plans for any future sessions on that continent or any others?
Well, Antarctica, what we're looking to do is we actually, believe it or not, after we did our exam session on the 25th of June and everybody got their licenses issued by the FCC, we've already received a couple of requests down from the South Pole for people to join our VE program and actually participate in doing remote testing down there with us. So I expect that over the coming months, we're going to be doing fairly regularly scheduled exam sessions on that continent. It looks like we may end up becoming the sole remote testing team offering testing for that continent, and that's pretty cool considering we've got 3 research stations down there. We've got the McMurdo Station, the Amundsen-Scott Station, which is the South Pole, and we've got the Palmer Station, which is on the opposite side of the continent from the South Pole. So those 3 research stations are owned and operated by the National Science Foundation, and they all have very specific research that they're doing down there. But the opportunity to do sessions down there on a regular basis is certainly on the horizon, and it's coming faster than I realize. So we do have that up and coming. As far as other continents, pretty much handling them as the request comes in and administering their exams as the need arises. And that's where we stand at this point.
Awesome. So I guess my final question here is, what did this prove for the remote platform and just for the tech that you utilize to do these remote tests in general?
Well, I think what it proved is many things. First off, it proved to us that, as I said before, ham exam gen can be deployed anywhere. Our platform has no boundaries. Our platform can be deployed on the most highly compromised internet connection you could possibly imagine and still perform to the highest level possible. So on the platform side, we know that the platform is versatile in that regard. On the technological side, we were able to see the Zoom video conferencing client perform to its best levels, given the limited internet connectivity resources they had down there, and see it perform absolutely flawlessly. So we know that we picked the right video conferencing software when we started doing remote testing as an organization. And I think that has definitely paid off for us in a multitude of ways. And then, another way this has really paid off for us, or what this has proven, is that we as a VE program are able to comfortably administer exams to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Our ability to assemble a reliable team of examiners for an occasion such as this is a tried and true concept of how a team is supposed to work. And I think all of these items put together has allowed for this organization and our VE program to really shine and do what was originally the unthinkable. And we have overcome what was the unthinkable and overcame it in a way that I think a lot of my VEs will be talking about for many years to come.
Absolutely. And, things that pop into my mind is, things like Starlink. When Starlink starts coming online in a lot of these countries with, once again, limited internet access, and people have an interest in amateur radio, then, that's possibly an avenue going forward for, once again, your team to
Yep.
use the Ham Exam Gen platform and deliver tests throughout the world to people that need them. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I know there's one other thing that I forgot about, Brandon. So, and I'm sure a lot of viewers were wondering this. What was the temperature in Antarctica when we did those tests?
So when we did the exam session at the McMurdo Station, it was minus 15 Celsius. So just a few degrees above zero in Fahrenheit. And then when we gave our exam at the South Pole, considering it was just a few days after winter solstice in the Southern Hemisphere, it was minus 51 Celsius, so about minus 60 Fahrenheit when we gave those exams. So it was a little cool down there when we gave the test, but I did not expect any of our examinees to be stepping outside to celebrate after the test was over with. So
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Brandon, for joining us and walking us through that process, and looking forward to joining you on some more adventures with the AARG VE team.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brandon, for that. I really am appreciative that I got to be a part of that. And I know the scientists there at the South Pole are also appreciative because now they're licensed. And some of those men and women went from zero to hero. They got their tech, their general, and their extra. And so I'm looking forward personally to hopefully hearing them on the radio on HF. All right. Let's talk a little bit about our to-go nugget of what I kind of want y'all to take home from all of this. So I guess the biggest thing that I kind of want to impart on everybody is just remember, if you have a passion to help people and you have a passion to serve people, there is no limit to what you can do. So who would have thought that with 7 to 9 megabits, like on satellite internet, that it would be possible to give a 100% totally remote amateur radio license to the South Pole in the middle of their winter. So, I mean, obviously it could be done using Zoom, using the ham exam gen, and then also just finding, the 22 men and women that are on the AARG VE team that wanted to make that time available for that 4 hours that it took to set up, to get those tests administered, to do everything that needed to be done. I mean, it was just, there were a lot of people involved, there were a lot of moving parts, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to sheer willpower. So, I mean, that's the to-go nugget that I kind of want to leave y'all with. If something's on your heart, if there is something that seems hard, it seems impossible, where there's a will, there's a way, and don't ever give up on your dreams, and don't ever give up your passion of trying to help people. So, thank y'all very much for joining me on this episode, and I'm sure that we'll talk more about the South Pole again as we do some more tests down there, and as we get hopefully other continents. I want to work all the continents as far as giving out those tests. So join me again on the next episode of Hogs and Hams, but thank you for joining me today. This is N1er saying, have a good one.